Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Kachanoski.
Thank you very much, Tim. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to begin by thanking the members of the Rotary Club of St. John's for once again inviting me to speak. As I contemplate finishing my 8th year as president, it's interesting to think about all of the times that I've been here. I also want to thank you for your ongoing support of your university, Memorial University, and for all the good work that Rotary does for our community, and you just mentioned a few of them just now. I want to acknowledge once again Ms. Iris Pettin, Chair of our Board of Regents, our Chancellor, Dr. Susan Dyer-Knight, and many other members of our boards are here because they also volunteer their time and contribute significantly to our university. So I'm going to ask you to please thank them on my behalf. Would you please join me in thanking them? And I'm kind of smiling because it's always good to get the crowd to clap for your bosses. As you saw from the slides that were shown just before you were meeting and greeting, and before we started the meeting, we have a number of new members of our senior leadership team who have joined us since I last spoke to you. And they've now finished, but I'm pleased to acknowledge them here On September 1st, Dr. Isabel Destaller joined us as our new Dean of the Faculty of Business Administration. In October, Dr. Jennifer Simpson began her term as Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. And finally, in November, Mr. Tom Nault started as our new Registrar and Secretary to Academic Senate. This year, we also welcomed 2 new Vice Presidents. Dr. Neil Bose is our Vice President of Research and comes to us from the Australian Maritime College, the National Institute for Maritime Education, Training and Research, which he headed up. He's got a long history at Memorial and has now come back. And Dr. Jeff Keshen is our new Vice President for our Granville campus. Most recently, he served as Dean of the Faculty of Arts with Mount Royal University in Calgary. Well, as I started to say, this is my 7th presentation to your club, and it's been wonderful to have the opportunity to keep you updated on all the noteworthy happenings and activities at Memorial. I'm choosing my words carefully. It has certainly been a very busy and interesting year at Memorial. On the one hand, there is so much to celebrate. Together with our partners, we have significantly advanced initiatives that are priorities not just for the university, but for the province as a whole. And as always, our students, our faculty, and our staff continue to amaze us with leadership and achievement that distinguishes them at a national and international level. So on the one hand, so much to celebrate, while on the other hand, as the daily news media and discussion forums continually remind us, our province's fiscal, economic, and demographic challenges are very real, and as recent provincial budgets have shown, Memorial University is certainly not immune to that reality, nor should it be. And I will revisit this briefly at the end of my talk today. At Memorial, of course, we tell our stories of success and accomplishment throughout the year in our alumni magazine, Luminous, on our Gazette news website, and each year we summarize noteworthy happenings and activities in our online President's Report. This year's report theme is Out in the Open. It reflects the place in which we all live, the adventuresome way in which our researchers and students engage with the world around them, the spirit of exploration that is the hallmark of a Memorial University education and Memorial's commitment to continuing to be open and transparent while maintaining institutional autonomy, which is at the core of what it means to be a university. I certainly encourage you to read the report and learn more about the accomplishments of Memorial, and with the short time I have here today, I can share just a few examples and highlights with you. First, all of our Seahawks students, athletes, make us proud, but this past year we have an additional reason to celebrate when the Memorial University Seahawks curling team under skip Adam Boland won the National University Sport Men's Curling Championship. The team finished their national championship winning season with a perfect 17-0 record. The only match that Team Boland lost was in the Newfoundland and Labrador Provincial Curling Championship to Team Gushin, the 2017 World Champions. And I think we can forgive them for losing to Team Gushin. I know that Adam is here, and I know that he's playing even this afternoon. I welcome him. There he is, over there. Where is he? There's Adam. Yeah. And he's playing this afternoon, so thank you for coming. We're also proud that Memorial had 39 academic All-Canadians, exceptional Seahawk athletes and student leaders with an exceptional academic standing of 80% or better. And speaking of student leaders, I want to mention two examples. First, Michael O'Keefe, who was here earlier but had to leave, but he did come for the meet and greet part, a performance and musicology undergraduate student from St. John's, who is Memorial and Newfoundland's and Labrador's newest Rhodes Scholar. The Dean of Music describes him as a musician, scholar, humanitarian, and policy shaper. He's intensely interested in the relationship between music and people and how it influences policy, justice, and inclusivity, and its capacity to bring together people of diverse backgrounds. He's also a wonderful student academic senator member, and he was here, and if you had a chance to meet with him, I'm sure you'd agree with me. A second person that I would like to acknowledge is Dr. Lila Cashew, a former PhD student working at the Research Center for Music, Material, and Place, or MMAP as we call it in our School of Music, who graduated this past spring from Memorial's ethnomusicology program. Dr. Cashew's PhD dissertation thesis was named Best in Canada for 2017 by the Canadian Association of Grad Schools. Best PhD thesis in Canada. The National Association singled out her thesis for breaking new ground in conflict resolution in Indigenous communities and bringing to light a form of justice that has national and international applications. Memorial researchers also continue to get national and international recognition. Smart Ice, the world's first climate change adaptation tool to integrate traditional Indigenous knowledge of sea ice with advanced sensing, data acquisition, and remote monitoring technology, was the only Canadian recipient of the United Nations Momentum for Change Climate Solutions Award. How do you live and adapt to climate change? The research is led by Dr. Trevor Bell, University Research Professor in the Department of Geography, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, and in addition to this prestigious UN award, a little over a year ago, Dr. Bell was honored for the second time with a coveted Arctic Inspiration Prize, a national honor often known as the Nobel Prize for the North. And finally, one more example, we're pleased to acknowledge and congratulate Dr. Barbara Neese of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences in the Department of Sociology, who late in December was awarded the Order of Canada for her innovative research on the interactions between work, environment, and health in coastal communities of Newfoundland and Labrador and beyond. Dr. Neese is a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada, and this past year she was awarded the Memorial's John Lewis Payton Distinguished University Professorship, our highest faculty honor. Last year, I indicated that at Memorial we are committed to supporting the development and the success of innovators across our province, and through that, helping to build a vibrant, successful, and sustainable future for our province. We believe very strongly that a key to unlocking the current and future potential for fostering entrepreneurship and innovation is to build a foundation that starts with our students from the moment that they enter our door. And since I last spoke to you, we've significantly advanced the foundation for building that culture of innovation and creating opportunities for student entrepreneurship and social innovation by the creation and launch of two new campus-wide initiatives, the Memorial Centre for Entrepreneurship and the Centre for Social Enterprise. The Memorial Centre for Entrepreneurship, or MCE, a partnership between the Faculty of Business Administration and the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Sciences, was officially launched this past spring with the support of provincial and federal and private partners. And just last October, it received another significant boost thanks to a generous donation of over $1.1 million from the family of the late Dr. Mel Woodward. It's a gift that will target and support student entrepreneurs, and through an annual business competition, the Mel Woodward Cup, it will award $40,000 annually in cash prizes for seed funding as well as mentoring and other supports. The MCE is open to students in all programs at the university and will also help better prepare student entrepreneurs with technology-based ideas for participation in programs at the Genesis Center, Memorial's award-winning technology incubator. The Memorial Center for Entrepreneurship will also work collaboratively with the second newly established center, the Center for Social Enterprise. It's a center that will catalyze and nurture social entrepreneurs and strengthen social enterprises in our province by supporting research and teaching and learning initiatives and incubating new and existing social enterprises. Social enterprise is a rapidly growing area of student interest, a reflection of the growing proportion of young people who wish to contribute to the public good and the not-for-profit sector, in addition to advancing their own personal goals and careers. And of course, to that end, this fall, Memorial will also begin offering Canada's first MBA in social enterprise and entrepreneurship. The program will develop leaders for social change, capable of addressing complex social problems in creative and effective ways. By cultivating relationships with existing and emergent social enterprises, this program will also help strengthen the social enterprise sector here in the province. And of course, there's no better example of what can come from empowering students with social entrepreneurship than our Enactus Memorial team, a student-led volunteer organization that competes nationally and globally based on the outcomes of community projects and social enterprises that they develop to address a range of economic, social, and environmental issues. And I know you know their accomplishments, but I'm going to say them again anyways. They were world champions in 2008 and again in 2016. In 2017, they were once again Canadian champions. And at the World Cup in England in September, they finished a close second, losing only to India in this prestigious global competition. 1,700 university campuses competing for 36 national teams who then compete for the World Cup. What a remarkable record of achievement for our students. And I know that Taylor Young from our Enactus team is here. Taylor, where are you? She's here, please. Bringing you all these student leaders who you should make Rotarians. And another amazing group of students is the Paradigm Hyperloop team, consisting of 40 highly innovative engineering students from Memorial, the College of North Atlantic, or Northeastern University of Boston. And I know that this has been in the paper a lot, but I'm going to remind you that they were one of only 24 finalists out of 1,200 international teams in a global competition held this fall at SpaceX headquarters in California, and the only North American team to be awarded the chance to test their pod in the SpaceX Hyperloop tube. And they came second in this global competition, an extraordinary accomplishment. And Brandon Failwell from the Paradigm Hyperloop team is here. Brandon, where are you? There he is over there as well. The Memorial Center for Entrepreneurship and the Center for Social Enterprise and the new MBA in Social Enterprise and Entrepreneurship are all part of our broader innovation initiative, an initiative focused on reimagining the nature and the configuration of innovation supports across the university to ensure they best enable and empower students and faculty and staff and external partners. The approval a few weeks ago by Memorial Senate of a significantly revised university intellectual property policy is another great example of this effort. All of this with the purpose of finding ways to maximize our impact as a university on the social, cultural, and economic development of our great province. This past year, we were also pleased to play a supporting role to the Atlantic region's Ocean Industry Consortium proposal to the federal government's Innovation Supercluster Initiative. The proposal, as you all know, was shortlisted. If successful, it would inject significant federal innovation and development funding into the region, hundreds of millions of dollars, and we eagerly await the outcome of that competition. One of the strengths that we brought to that supercluster application is the incredible success of the Ocean Frontier Institute, launched with our partner universities, DAL and UPEI, in 2016, with an unprecedented $220 million in new funding from the Canada First Research Excellence Fund and various other partner funding. In the coming months, through the OFI funding, Memorial will welcome a large influx of new postdoctoral researchers and graduate students from multiple disciplines to undertake some of the world's most ambitious research aimed at unlocking the secrets of the North Atlantic. And certainly, over the past couple of years, as many groups have reflected on our province's fiscal, economic, and demographic challenges and opportunities, it has certainly been appropriate and rewarding to see the importance of Memorial and its students reflected in the strategic plans and goals from many, many agencies for population growth, for innovation, for economic diversification, and for sustainable development. This was certainly reflected in both Mayor Breen's and Premier Ball's comments to Rotary here over the past few weeks. Mayor, it's wonderful to have you here and your comments about Memorial. There's so much more that the city and university could be doing, so I really do appreciate your comments. And of course, it's also reflected in the provincial government's new 2017 immigration and innovation strategies and in recent funding announcements for pilot projects with the Association of New Canadians to help our international students and graduates find work experience and employment in the province, among many, many other initiatives this past year. Of course, all of these plans and goals assume continued successful recruitment and retention of talented students at Memorial. So in addition to the significant upward trajectory of our research activities, we are particularly proud that despite challenging provincial demographics, Memorial continues to experience strong demand for our academic programs. Our overall enrollment has remained relatively stable with significant demand and growth for our professional undergraduate programs and a doubling of the number of graduate students in the past 10 years to almost 3,800. A key aspect is that over 30% of our students are originally from outside the province or Canada, and as I said last year, of particular note is our number of PhD students up an incredible 12% again over the last 2 years and rising from 300 in 2004 to now more than 850, directly reflecting our upward research trajectory and our goal to significantly accelerate the generation of scholarly outcomes and intellectual property, including enhancing our focus on innovation. The Conference Board of Canada and many others have emphasized that talented people with advanced graduate education, particularly at the PhD level, are the underpinnings of innovation and economic diversification. In today's globally connected world, innovation occurs where new ideas are generated and supported. And new ideas are the foundation of graduate research degrees and a vibrant research and innovation ecosystem. But we should have no illusions. For a successful future, we need to have what it takes to attract and retain the highest quality people, people who want to live and work here. And from Memorial University's perspective, that's directly related to capacity on the ground here and the development and the operation of 21st century teaching and research and development infrastructure, which will attract the best and the brightest faculty and staff and provide students with access to the programs and the education they need and they deserve. So as I have said many times, addressing our aging infrastructure, particularly on our St. John's campus, has to continue to be our highest priority. More than half of our buildings are 40 years or older, some more than 50 years old, and even with significant repairs or renovations, they can no longer meet the needs of a 21st century university. At this time last year, when I spoke to you, we had just reissued the tender for the Core Sciences building, which is, of course, our highest priority. We were rather nervous because we had re-tendered that because it was not on budget, and of course we were very anxious to have it go ahead. And of course, as everyone knows, if you've driven down the Parkway, since then the construction of the building has moved ahead rapidly, and with the 2 massive cranes and tons of steel in the Parkway, it gives you an idea of the magnitude of that facility. Construction of this facility will create nearly 1,440 direct and indirect person-years of employment and approximately $94 million in labor income. More importantly, it will enable and support 21st century science and engineering, teaching and learning. This past year, we were also pleased to complete on budget the Phase 2 construction of the Holyrood Marine Base breakwater, marginal wharf, and underwater technology test bed. Combined with a proposed new oceanfront building, the Marine Base will allow Memorial to undertake critical at-sea, in-water, and subsea education, training, research, and innovation. The base will also be the cornerstone of a new cold ocean research and innovation park in Holyrood. And of course, an important aspect of our plans is the development of the battery facility as a public engagement platform for creating all types of innovation and collaboration and partnership. The graduate student residence has been finished for some time, and it is full with a waiting list, and the remaining battery development is on budget and expected to be completed in June of this year. Key outreach units will be moving there, including the Gardner Center for Business Development, the Harris Center in the Office of Public Engagement, and our Genesis Center, our award-winning business incubator for technology startups. Since its establishment nearly 2 decades ago, the Genesis Center has helped more than 150 startups raise more than $95 million in private investments and created more than 1,100 jobs. Going forward, we want to at least triple the number of successful startups knocking on Genesis Center's door. I used to say double, but we know we're going to meet 2 times, and people cringe every time I increase that number, but I'm going to keep pushing. Key to this will be fostering entrepreneurship at all levels, from our undergraduate students through to the startup companies within the Genesis Center, many with the initiatives that I've just talked about. And at Genesis, the impact of our focus on innovation and entrepreneurship is already being felt. The inquiry rate for their programs is 10 times what it was a couple of years ago. The Evolution program, an 8-week idea validator program, now accepts up to 60 entrepreneurs per year, and their Enterprise program, which helps entrepreneurs commercialize their ideas, has accepted more companies in this past year than in the previous 3 combined. That's good news. Additionally, Genesis is working with the federal government to help immigrant entrepreneurs who have great business ideas establish roots in Newfoundland and Labrador, and just recently also they've received significant funding to specifically enable and support women entrepreneurs. We also certainly believe that public engagement at Memorial supports regional and provincial innovation. The Office of Public Engagement and the Harris Center at Memorial are primary connectors for knowledge mobilization, linking our researchers with groups all over Newfoundland and Labrador, and supporting active community engagement through the research process. A great example is the recent collaboration between the Harris Center and the Community Foundation of Newfoundland and Labrador on the Vital Signs Project, and an annual cross-provincial checkup on the vitality of our communities on key quality of life issues such as housing, the economy, health, and education. And a copy of the 4th annual report has been placed at each of your tables, and we kind of give you that each year when I come here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you get the sense that there is so much to celebrate as Memorial focuses on meeting the needs of our students, developing innovative living and learning spaces, and building and renewing appropriate infrastructure for 21st century teaching, research, and public engagement, and making a difference in our communities. As I said earlier, however, there have also been significant challenges this past year, and I want to repeat that we are acutely aware of the fiscal situation of the province, and we know that Memorial has to do its part and is doing its part. And I would like to end today with just some short comments about our budget and budget planning processes. And I'm going to go to 2 budget slides now and go off of speaking notes, which my board chair and my board members are cringing. But if I could. When we think about our budgets and integrated budget planning process, our budget is broken into 3 components, not just the operating budget, which gets a lot of attention, of course, at the time of the budget announcement. But our operating budget is integrated over with our pension budget, which is governed, of course, by separate pension legislation, and our capital infrastructure budget, which, as I've said to you before, we have a huge infrastructure deficit. Just to set some parameters, of course, the Memorial University Act indicates we cannot go over budget in any given year. So it's not possible for us to run a deficit every year. So that's the first thing. Secondly, with respect to capital infrastructure and any others, we're also can't take out any loans. The university is not allowed to take and borrow any money unless we have government approval. With respect to infrastructure, capital infrastructure, Memorial, through the Act, is not allowed to buy a building or build a new building, again, without government approval. So everything has a set of regional checks and balances that have to go through all multiple levels, and that's a pretty significant control of what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. And our operating budget is complicated because it crosses over into our pension plan through special payments to handle our going concern deficits, and of course over into our capital infrastructure as we have taken on the responsibility of renewing our own capital infrastructure, and in particular in the core sciences building, which is being built, $325 million building, $100 million coming from the federal government, $25 million coming from the provincial government. We are taking on $200 million of that, and we're taking a mortgage out and paying that out. So we're covering off that through a efficiency reviews through our budget and creating a mortgage and paying off $200 million on that. And by the way, for the $25 million that the province is investing into that, they're collecting back $28 million in provincial sales tax on that project. That's just one example. Our Holyrood Marine Base was done by self-financing through leasing our South Harbour facility and using the 40-year lease rate that we got there to build the Holyrood facility again with no provincial dollars and with federal provincial investment. The battery is done as a cost recovery unit, again, no dollars from the federal government, from the provincial government. And our new Animal Resource Center is built again. It's a $35 million project that's starting just across from the science building, is being done with $14 million from a federal infrastructure grant, and we are taking on another mortgage of $20 million to rebuild that, because that animal care center we absolutely need to have, otherwise we will lose accreditation in a number of our programs. So we're taking on these responsibilities ourselves. So the special payments, we've been in discussions with the government around our pension. As you know, other public sector pensions have been I guess, provincial government has worked with them to provide long-term stable solutions, and you've seen the costs of all of those. We're the last public sector pension plan that really hasn't been dealt with. We have to have this finished by the end of March. We're into a discussion with our unions about this and coming up with a solution. We were, although in the April budget, when we received those significant budget cuts, we were, I guess, assured at that point in time that we would receive assistance in coming to a solution for the, I would say, relatively small remaining going concern deficit for our pension plan. We were now told in November that the university will have to handle that entirely by itself, which means the impact on our pension plan, on our operating budget this coming March and April will be significant. And we're working through those details right now. Next slide, please. I thought to talk about the operating budget, which is the big one in between, which then gets all of those impacts. I would just go back to 2011 and 12 and give you what our operating budget is. $303 million, substantial amount of money. And of course, we were getting from the provincial government $11.3 million for deferred maintenance. I say that because I came as a president in July and August of 2010, so this would have been my first budget year. We would have put the budget proposal through that fall, and this would have been the first budget that we've had. And in the 7 years since, we've gone from this as a base. And I think every businessman here would understand that between now and this year and for the next 2 years that there's inflation costs that happen. I think the CPI index has gone up 14%. Of course, it impacts us when we purchase at least $100 million worth of goods and services. The HST has gone up. Our insurance costs have all up. So you can understand how costs have significantly gone up in that period. You can understand also there are provincial wage templates that were agreed to by the government, and our unions followed suit. So over that period of time, we've signed union and contract agreements for the same wage as the public sector template was. These are all significant ones. Also, it's supposedly happening in that period each and every year, the debate around the frozen tuition, which is that the government announces and has announced that each year we would get $4 million a year incremental increase in our base budget so that we would not freeze tuition. So during this period, tuition has largely been frozen. because the government has indicated at each budget year it would give us $4 million. Next year, give us another 4, so that would be 8. And so you would have expected about $25 or $27 million of accumulated in lieu of us raising tuition. In this same period, for example, Dalhousie, which is about our same size, research intensive, has raised new revenue for their operations from tuition of about $50 million over this period of time. What is our budget this year? Can I get the next slide? The same budget as I had my first year here, despite all those costs that I talked to you about, despite the fact that tuition has been frozen. So this is our budget challenge. And I don't think there's another public institution in Canada that would say that their budget 7 years ago is the same as it is now, all in, inflation, wages, everything. And the current announcements of budget cuts are that that budget number will go down by another 15 to 20 million over the next 2 years. And we still got to handle the pension issue, which we've also just been found that we have to handle it. So that's our challenge. And I can tell you our provost isn't here, but she's been having she's up to 13 or 14 community meetings on campus to say, how are we going to do this and where are we going to find the savings? I can tell you it will be significant, and the impact over the next couple of years dramatic. And we're working on all of those as we are going through our budget discussions with the government. So I think I'm going to end it at that, because I just want you to know the frame of reference that our Board of Regents works on and that we work on. I would say to you, we have been doing our part. If there's a spending problem, from the time I've ever come here, we don't have any of it. We don't have the money because we weren't given any extra money. To close, I want to once again thank you all for inviting me here to speak with pride about the accomplishments and achievements of your Memorial University, and also thank you for listening just a little about our fiscal challenges. Thank you very much.